Hi, Patricia. This is Nikki. I was especially drawn to your video because I haven't had a lot of experience with some of the plights with Venezuelan Americans and Venezuelans that have been migrating to the U.S. So I found an article that's published November 24, 2024, titled Cultural Stress and Mental Health Among Venezuelan Migrants. And it's one of the first studies of its kind, really taking a look at migration-related cultural stress and the effects for those individuals that are migrating to the United States. So I really admire your heart towards first generation family support. So you're using your bilingual capabilities to really love on that population of people that may not be able to access care as they're facing some of these challenges. Listening to your video, we have a lot of similarities in terms of cultural humility and the importance. And particularly when we think about barriers and challenges to seeking care that you mentioned, having, I think, an awareness and asking curious questions, similar to what you mentioned in the video that we watched, is so important to develop that humility, which I also found interesting as I was trying to delineate between humility and competence. And there's a chart in the text that distinguishes between the two. And what I thought was so telling in that chart was competence is sort of implying a hubris almost of knowing instead of continuing the lifelong process of learning that we're finding to be incredibly important, because the evolution of how culture impacts a person and all the things that potentially come into how we can be more empathetic, how we can ensure that advocacy is focused on the right things, and really honoring the ACA Code of Ethics in so many ways in terms of how we meet people where they are, and ensuring that that natural curiosity is opening our minds and hearts to a level of diversity that perhaps we have not considered. So I appreciate what you've shared. And I also took a note about the incorporation of informed consent and asking permission to broach a topic, because we're not going to get it right every time, right? And I think to the point made in the book, that if a client feels like we are authentic, if there are any unintended racial microaggressions, then we often find that, based on what the text has to say, that the client still sees a higher level of satisfaction because of our authenticity. So thank you so much for sharing.